We're talking about the keys of happiness. The three keys of happiness are communication, giving and receiving, and creating trust among our fellow men and women. And in the giving and receiving area, we've been talking about the seven needs. And the seven needs are they correspond to the seven rays. First, the need for union. Second, the need for love. Third, the need for experience. Fourth, the need for creative expression. Five, the need for knowledge. Six, the need for emotional fulfillment. And seven is the need for order, which corresponds to the seven ray of ceremonial magic. Now, this need for order is an interesting one. It's not something that a lot of people associate with a human need, but we definitely have a need for order in our lives because there's like tremendous order in the universe itself. We have everything that has a form has a beginning and an end, and every planet revolves, has day and night, and every person has birth and death. And between birth and death are many different cycles that we go through. And in these cycles, we have like a need for balance, a need for rhythm, a need for harmony and structure and judgment. This need could be called a need for cyclic activity. Um, and a movie I saw, well, was a made for TV movie starring Pierce Brosnan about Around the World in 80 Days. They've made three or four different versions of this uh, movie, but I like the one with Pierce Brosnan in the best because uh, it portrayed him as a person that did everything on schedule. He got up a certain time, he went and had uh, breakfast a certain time, he went and met with his friends at a certain time, and he had a schedule for everything. Everything was in perfect order in his life. And this is why he thought he could go around the world in 80 days, because he figured out exactly where he'd be on every day, and how he could actually do it, because he was a person that was really into cycles and order. And I thought that was kind of a cute character that that movie had created. And all of us are a little bit like that. We all need certain orders. We all get up, go to bed at a certain time, and get up at a certain time. And if we go off of that, if you go to bed a couple hours later or a couple hours earlier, and get up earlier or later, you feel kind of groggy throughout the day. Or if you fly from one time zone to another and have to adapt, it takes a few days to feel normal again. This is illustrative of the fact that we are are all into cycles. We have to go with the flow of the cycle to maintain our best rhythm and our best energy. So the certain cycles are important to tune into. Not only they say sleep is really important, to keep your sleeping hours the same every night for maximum vitality and health. And for each person, they have to find out kind of what works for them. And what works for them is what you, if you need like 6 hours sleep or 8 hours sleep, or uh, short periods of sleep with naps, or whatever works for you, find out what works and then do it regularly and try to keep to that cycle. And this applies with uh, other things in our lives. Now, humans are often out of order, and when we get out of order or out of our cycles, we often experience ill health. Ill health is often related to or to a life that is scattered, where the energies are scattered. They don't go in cycles and rhythm and harmony. And remember, harmony is created by cycles that repeat perfectly. And you have cycles that are like interference cycles or cycles that don't repeat harmoniously. Uh, they create uh, sounds that just sound off key and off note. And so we have to find the cycles that are on the note that we are on. Kind of look at ourselves as being part of a melody or a part of a symphony, and you have to sound a certain note to be in harmony with the melody. And if you go off of your note, then that affects you. It also affects other people in your circle. So it's important that we find our note, or find our rhythm, find what works for us, find the times to meditate, find the times to study, find the times to work. And uh, famous writers often say um, they have to work within certain cycles or else they're not productive. In other words, a writer is an individual that is completely his own boss, and he has to schedule his own cycles. And a lot of famous writers say, well, I write between like 6 in the morning and 10 in the morning, and those are the hours that I write every day. And if I try to write another time period, then it just doesn't seem to work. And that's because he's created these cycles. And the same thing with maybe a place that you work. Maybe you you're like I have my chair here next to my computer, spend a lot of time here. I seem to be more productive and think clearer when I'm sitting in this chair than maybe when I'm sitting in another chair somewhere else. And so a space that you're in can be something that is um, sets up a vibration that you can be in tune with. So, like different cycles, then are like going to bed, rising, napping at the same time each day. We also like eat about the same time each day. If you eat at certain times and then go off that, your body will feel a little bit out of sync. So that's another thing that's important is eat at approximately the same times each day. And if you study regularly, set aside a certain time to study each day. And if you set that time apart, you'll find that your mind is adjusted so it can be a little bit more active and responsive during that time. Also, entertainment. Have cyclic entertainment. A lot of people like maybe go to the movies or go do something entertaining on maybe Saturday night or Friday night or weekends. Weekends are kind of a cycle for that mankind has set as a time to entertain themselves. But each person has to adjust that for himself. Even sex is set in cycles, and of course, the females have their cycles that affect them. Our work has cycles. We go to work. If you have a job, you'll often go to work at a certain time each morning, and then you finish uh, at a certain time in the evening. And then the laws of the land are uh, part of the seventh ray in the fact and part of cyclic activity in the fact that they govern us so that we live our lives within certain parameters. You can't go over to your neighbor's house and just go burst in his living room without knocking, because that's, you're regulated against doing that because of the laws. Religious ceremonies is another, and sacraments, observances, um, from every different religion has their various holy days and sacraments and rites, and they are stimulating to the people because they're adjusting into cycles. The fact that you do anything in life that creates a cyclic type of thinking, you'll have an ebb and flow, and during the flow you'll have a greater potency available. Another thing is contemplation, prayer, and meditation. It's good to set aside a certain time to focus inwardly, to connect with your inner spirit. And if you do this at a certain time each day, it will help to increase in potency. And another stabilizing feature is marriage and relationships. You get together with friends, your partner, associates in cyclic activity. Okay, any comments on that before we move on? Now, people join churches and organizations to bring order into their life. This is one of the draws of churches over, like, say, New Age things and metaphysical things. Churches are a lot more structured, and thus they appeal a lot to the masses, because even though the attending a regular church, you don't really learn very much that's useful. It gives people a structure. So they go to church, hear a sermon, and the sermon is often stuff they've heard before a dozen times, but they sit there and listen, and it's part of a cycle they go through, and it makes them feel like a sense of belonging, a sense of doing something. And so the churches and religious organizations have a powerful influence through the law of cycles. Now, a lot of the more esoteric community are more scattered. They're not, they don't get together regularly. They work a lot more as individuals. And some of them get together and have regular meditations. We for instance, here, or meet once a week, and get together and share our thoughts. And this cyclic activity we are having um, will increase our focus and power to connect with spirit better than if we were just out uh, in the garden or something like that. Okay. One of the needs in this structure, in this, for this seventh ray, this need for order, is ceremony. And this is a basic human need that has achieved little attention by psychologists. And so if you feel you want to accomplish something, it's good to make some type of ceremony around it. We covered some time ago, talked about a magic circle where uh, you can put something on your wall, for instance, related to some goal you have in mind, and you can put pictures up there and that symbolize what you want to materialize. And then, say, if you put it above your bed, every time you go to bed, you look at that, and you can, it helps you to visualize this becoming a reality. Another thing you can do is put things in writing. put in writing what you want to see materialize. And you could say if it's just, if it's something simple, you can put it in your workspace where you can see it. And this will help you to keep it in your consciousness to make it a reality. Because remember, the important key is that energy follows thought. And so whatever you do to focus your thought in a certain direction, you will create tremendous power. Now, the last thing you can do with either an image on paper or something you've written on paper is to visualize it materializing and then burn the sheet of paper and sense the connection to spirit, which fire is like a link between matter and spirit. And so when you take something you've written down and then you just burn it, you can actually send a strong message to your subconscious that can give it more power to materialize. And what's interesting is that Jesus used various little ceremonies sometimes when he healed people. This one guy that was blind came to him, and Jesus spit on the ground, and he made a clay out of the spit, and he put the clay on the guy's eyes, and this healed him. Now, why did he do that? Why do you suppose Jesus made out of his spit and the dirt, he put this on this guy's eyes, and this healed him? Why do you suppose Jesus did that? Yeah.
Well, it was an ordered sequence of events that generated belief. Right.
Right. What it did, it generated belief. Some people, like a lot of people, he just says, "You're okay. Your faith is making you whole." But then other people that came to him, he did certain things. Like he had one guy go bathe in a local pool and water, and had people do different things, and other people he didn't. In other words, he looked at him and he thought, well, just telling this guy faith will make him whole, that's not good enough. He's going to need some little ceremony to make him think I'm really doing something. And then his belief will be strengthened because of what I do. So this guy, he and the people around him see Jesus making this little clay, and he puts it on this guy's eyes, and this blind guy feels this on his eyes, and he thinks, oh, he's doing something. Okay. Otherwise, the blind guy would think, is anything happening? So the clay on his eyes made the blind guy feel like something was happening, and it also made the people present feel like, hey, he's really doing something magical here. And so something must be going to happen. So people were expecting something to happen, and his disciples were expecting something to happen. Whenever Jesus did something kind of out of the ordinary, his disciples were at the point where they thought, well, he's doing something that's going to create something magical here. So let's pay attention. We really believe something's going to happen.
Always starts with an image.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a talisman like in The Wizard of Oz when the wizard, took a heart, put it over the lion, give him courage. A talisman, something you can believe in. It says substance.
Yeah, there's a lot of things you can do to stimulate belief. And the power of thought is a lot more powerful than we imagine. And this is one thing the life of Jesus demonstrated, was the power of thought. You notice when people were healed, he never said, I have healed you. He never even said God had healed you. What did he say healed them?
Faith,
Whose faith?
one
Their own
being.
faith,
The person's faith.
the person's faith,
Person's
their
own faith. He says, your faith has made you whole. Your faith. So, to, so what he operated with was the people's own thoughts. He tuned into their thoughts and amplified their thoughts and put them in the right direction toward their souls. So they connected their thought with spirit, which has all power, and miracles were manifest because he was a master at directing their thoughts with his own thoughts. And so their faith made them whole. In other words, within you is the power of thought to make you whole. All you need is for that thought to be put in the right direction. If that thought is put in the right direction, any disease can be cured, any miracle can happen. Nothing is impossible. And like Jesus says, if you have faith of a mustard seed, you can say to a mountain, be thou removed, and it will be removed. So that's a pretty amazing statement. Haven't seen anybody do that yet. Not even Jesus moved a mountain that we know about. But mankind has moved mountains, but sometimes it takes several months to do
the earth mover.
it with that machinery we have. But so we've reached a point as we've been able to drill uh, tunnels through mountains and move small mountains and hills. But to do it with the power of thought, that would be an amazing thing. And but
I don't think it's ever meant to. I don't think it's ever meant to be taken literally. It was basically moving the mountains within you, just with
well, I think
seed
it
of
can be
thought.
taken literally. We can take it figuratively. Moving mountains, you could say a mountain symbolizes a, a, a strong accomplishment. So, say building a business is like moving a mountain. There's a lot of symbolism there, but it is possible to actually move a physical mountain with your thought if all of the impediments were out of the way and if you had total focus, because your thoughts are a lot more powerful than you think. And this is why I said that, because really nothing, it says nothing is impossible. And, but we have our limitations. And this is one of the interesting things that DK teaches. He says, we are surrounded by limitations right now, and we've done this on purpose so that we can grow. If we return to our source right now, where everything is unlimited in pure spirit, there's no challenges. So we limited ourselves, came down here and made a bunch of rules, and it limits ourselves tremendously. And as we progress from point to point, we remove the limitations. And even the masters have limitations they're working on. Even the Ancient of Days has limitations he's working on. Every life form in the universe is struggling to remove the limitations until they go back to pure spirit, where the monad resides. So that's interesting that we all have this ring past knot that is almost seems impossible for us to penetrate until we have some type of enlightenment. But what's interesting is that nothing is impossible. A mountain could be moved. A whole planet could disintegrate or materialize by the power of thought if our limitations were completely removed. But all of us have that ring pass knot beyond which it's hard for us to expand. And Jesus had a ring pass knot that was much higher than the people around him. So he could kind of incorporate others into his ring pass knot so that they could be healed beyond what was normal for them because of the ring pass knot that Jesus saw beyond. But even he has a ring pass knot that he's working on himself. So that's interesting. Now, these cycles we establish and ceremonies can help us expand beyond our ring pass knot. So things that are like the ceremonies and churches and things where and the Bible talks about the laying on of hands for the healing of the sick. So that's a ceremony, laying on hands on a person's head and giving them a blessing or doing a healing increases the healing power through that ceremony. Whatever. And other people do ceremonies with crystals or maybe working with the aura. And all of these things build up, direct the thought of the person. And or in the words of Jesus, increases their faith. An increase of faith is really an increase in focus of thought, because thought has power to do anything. The thought of God created the whole universe itself. And so the whole universe is created by thought. And so the whole universe can be undone or altered by thought. And each one of us is a universe to ourselves. So the first thing we have to do is keep our own lives and bodies and health in shape by making sure that our thoughts are focused in the right direction. Okay, any comments on that before we move on?
Well, it's all thought, and all we need to do is remember that we keep our eyes single on the truth and the body be filled with light.
Yeah, yeah. Keep our minds centered in the light is a phrase that's really important because of so many
Your mind
things
steady
we
in the
practice.
light.
Here we try to, during this meeting, we try to focus on the light, and then during the week, we have all kinds of distractions, from television programs to friends to crisis situations that might occur to doing regular work with our jobs that seem to be not maybe that enlightened. but but during all this, it is possible, no matter what you're doing, to keep your mind centered in the light. Just you have to remind yourself during the day to focus on that inward light, no matter what is happening outside. Now, retired people are especially in need of order because their lives are disrupted because they've lost the ordered sequence. They say that within 2 years of retirement, an outstanding number of people die. And researchers attribute this to the idea that they've lost their purpose and their sense of order, and they don't have anything to like hold on to. And so there's a pretty high percentage of people die a short time after they retire because they were very involved with their work. Their work was like their life, and now they're not working anymore and they feel lost. Now there's other retired people that retire with gusto and really enjoy it and enjoy their waning years. But these people create some type of order in their lives beyond the work. So they let go of the work and then they create some structure in their lives. And these people tend to live a lot longer and happier lives that keep a structure in their life. How many people are retired? Ed, you're retired, aren't you?
I've been retired for 17 years and I'm still alive.
Yeah, do you figure you have cycles and structure and purpose in your life still?
Well, I create structure. I get up every morning at 5 to 5:30 and I have coffee and I come down to my space here and I read inspiring things for a couple hours every morning. That's my structure and it affects the way I view the day.
Yeah. Yeah, so you have structure in your
Well,
life.
one thing,
You're in your 80s and still healthy, so you're a great example of somebody that keeps the structure after retirement. But there's a lot of other people that just drift. They don't know what to do with their lives. They're bored, maybe go play bingos about the highest thing they can think of.
Well, those are the prisoners of the planet that we need to try to influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, Ed has gone out, in his later years and bought a new dump, or not a new one, but a dump truck. He's going to put to good use. He's bought a tractor. He has no signs of retiring completely. He's opening new frontiers for himself, aren't you, Edward?
Yeah, he's a good example of people that's kept structure in his life. Yeah, Ed's really, I know he's really big on his cycles. If we have a meeting after 10, he won't attend because he says, that's my time to go to bed. So he stays to his cycles pretty good, and it's working for him because he's in his 80s and still in good health. So he's a great example of that.
Well, the cycle I'm working on right now is to try to become more proactive in this new year coming up, where I want to begin to support groups that actually are doing something to influence the minds of humanity.
Yeah, yeah. So
The media.
so you've got goals there, and that's another thing a retired person has to have to stay healthy and live long. Because a lot of people, when they retire from their job, they can't think of a goal. Well, I guess I'll go fishing. You can only fish so much, and you can only watch so much football on TV before you get bored. And so I have a hard time identifying with people that just think, boy, what am I going to do with my time? I've never had a problem with that question.
Well,
But
like the man said, everyone should believe in something. And he says, I believe I'll have another beer.
yeah, well, it's better than nothing, I guess. Okay, so cycles is really important. And that finishes up our second key of happiness of giving and receiving. And we'll move on to the next one, which is trust. We'll just spend a few minutes on that and move on next week. But trust is a really important key of happiness, and it's not something a lot of people think. People think when you talk about keys of happiness, they think, well, I'd like to be like rich and famous, or I'd like for people to like me, and they think of little personality things. But yeah, it's important that you have enough to live on and you have food and shelter and things like this. You got to have these basics, but these are core principles. Without trust, you can be the richest person in the world and have loved ones betray you, and that could make you quite miserable. One important ingredient in trust is realizing not everybody is trustworthy. There's different grades of trust. You just can't go around and trust everybody with everything. So the key for each of us is to befriend people in your life that you have a sense that you can trust them. And if you decide to get married, make sure that this is a person you can trust. This is one of the big problems with selecting mates, is that they don't ask if, can I trust this person? They ask, am I attracted to this person? And oftentimes people are attracted to individuals that are not very trustworthy. Some of the most flamboyant, interesting people out there with really kind of dazzling personalities are people that you can't trust with a hoot.
You have to develop an intuition and have a certain degree of wisdom that comes from experience.
Exactly. And so it takes a little bit of life experience to figure out who you can trust and who you can't. It's not something everyone is born with, is a sense of who you can trust and who you can't. But I think it's kind of funny when we had our business and somebody would say to me, oh, I don't have money right now, I'll send you a check or whatever. And I had a sense of who I could trust and who I couldn't when they told me something like that. And when I went along with them and said, okay, I'll trust you, my wife would come up to me and say, what makes you think you can trust that character? I said, well, just a feeling. She said, well, what makes you think? I said, well, just wait, he'll send us the money. And every time, I don't think I was wrong once. Every time I told her, don't worry about it, he'll send us the money, that he did. But if I got a sense that I couldn't trust this character, then, I made him pay up front. And I had a pretty good sense about that. And that's one thing about being in business, it kind of trains you to get a sense of trust in people. Some people you can trust and some people you cannot. And if you make a soul connection with another individual, you will get a sense of how much you can trust them. And then every once in a while, no matter how enlightened we think we might be, there will be people that let us down, maybe beyond what we expected. Maybe we didn't pay enough attention or something. But so trust is an important key to happiness, because if you're surrounded by people you can't trust, it's hard to be at peace. Because if they have things that are crucial to your success or to your life, and you cannot trust them, it on a personality level, it will make the individual at ill ease. And if you're not at ease, then you can't direct your thought properly and make your life, mold your life the way you want. So surrounding people you can trust. And like I say, to develop this sense is just life experience. And so what a person needs to do is, remember, energy follows thought. So every person you associate with, kind of formulate in your mind, how far can I trust this individual? Could I trust him with my life? Could I trust him to help me if I'm in need? Is this somebody I could call in the middle of the night and say, hey, I need some help, and he would do what he could? Is it somebody you could tell a secret to and say, this is not to be shared, and you can trust him not to go share it? Now that's a big one. You tell a secret to somebody, and how many times have you told a secret to somebody, then found out that secret was out? And this is something that a lot of people grumble about among their friends. Well, yeah, I told my friend about this, and he went and told everybody, and it was kind of embarrassing or whatever. And so let's have some comment on this. Let's pick on old Adam over there. He looks like he's thinking deeply. How about you, Adam? Do you have a sense of, do you get a sense of trust about people that you meet? and how to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, there's something instinctive about reading people in different situations. I mean, I don't know that I have anything greatly enlightening to say about it, but I, definitely have experienced times where I trusted those instincts and it proved to be accurate.
Yeah, I get a sense that you and Marty have a really strong sense of trust together.
I have to trust her. She knows too much about me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's hear some secrets about him. You're not going to tell us embarrassing secrets?
If they got out.
Yeah. Okay.
I do, JJ, when we're close to finish here, I do have a follow-up question from last week that I'd like to ask.
Oh, okay. Is it connected with this or something else?
Well, it has to do with the molecule and kind of what we were talking about earlier with respect to ceremony and order.
Okay. I'll at the end of the class, I'll call on you again then.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, let's pick on somebody else. Annie, what do you have a sense of trust when you meet various people?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I think I try to find that. I don't give out easily, so I need to get to know them a little bit, and then it's probably some kind of feeling about them. I think
And
so.
let's suppose you have something that you don't want the world to know about. Are there certain people in your circle that you could trust and other people that you maybe would wonder about?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, it's amazing how many people just they get some juicy information, they just cannot keep it to themselves. There's some pretty funny sitcoms made about